The intrusion. The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the dim glow of distant stars. Deep within the HFY Dominion, an alien empire that ruled with an iron grip, a fleet of warships drifted silently. Their patrol was routine, a simple scan of the border regions. Nothing ever happened here. Commander Velrax sat in his command chair, his 4 red eyes scanning the control screens in front of him. His claws tapped impatiently on the metal armrest. It was just another dull day in Celtar space. No one was foolish enough to challenge their empire. Then suddenly, an alarm blared. A flashing red signal appeared on the main screen. "Commander, an unknown vessel has entered our territory," a young officer shouted. Velrax straightened, his eyes narrowing. An intruder? Here? That was impossible. The HFY Dominion had the strongest border defenses in the galaxy. No ship could enter without being detected long before arrival. "Identify the vessel," Velrax ordered. The officer's claws moved quickly over the controls. He hesitated, confusion spreading across his face. I can't. Our scanners aren't reading anything. It's blocking all signals." Velrax's stomach tightened. A ship that could block their scans. That technology was unheard of. "Put it on the main screen," he commanded. The screen flickered, and the image of the mysterious ship appeared. It was unlike anything the HFY had ever seen. Small, sleek, and armored in dark metal, it floated just beyond their fleet. Its shape was almost predatory, like a hunter waiting for the right moment to strike. Velrax leaned forward, studying the strange vessel. It wasn't one of theirs. It wasn't any known design in the galaxy. A cold feeling crept into his chest. "Send a warning message," he said. "Tell them they have violated Celtar space and must leave immediately." A communication officer nodded and sent the transmission. The fleet waited. No response. Velrax's claws dug into his chair. "Send it again. Use all frequencies." Still, silence. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. This was unnatural. Every species in the galaxy feared the HFY. Any sane captain would have responded, apologizing, begging for safe passage. But this ship, it remained silent. Then, the ship moved. Without warning, it shifted positions at an impossible speed, warping to the left side of the fleet in an instant. The HFY officers gasped. Nothing was that fast. Nothing. "Commander, it just jumped without a hyperspace signature. That's impossible." Velrax's blood ran cold. This was not just some lost vessel. This was something dangerous. "Activate weapons," he barked. "Surround it. Make sure it cannot escape." The HFY warships moved into formation, their massive gun turrets locking onto the unknown ship. Red targeting grids appeared on the screen, showing the enemy was now in perfect firing range. "Last warning," Velrax growled. "Identify yourself, or we will open fire." For the first time, there was a response. The ship's dark surface shimmered, and a deep, almost mechanical voice echoed through the bridge. "This space is now under human control." A heavy silence filled the air. Human. Velrax's claws tightened on the chair. Impossible. Humans were weak. Their homeworld was a tiny, insignificant planet on the edge of the galaxy. They had no great armies, no powerful fleets. They were nothing compared to the mighty Celtar Dominion. Yet, this ship stood before them, undetected, unafraid, declaring control over their space. "Fire," Velrax ordered. The fleet unleashed a storm of plasma and energy blasts, their weapons lighting up the darkness of space. The alien officers watched as their powerful attacks closed in on the human ship. Then, the impossible happened again. Right before impact, the human ship vanished. The HFY officers gasped in horror as their attacks flew straight through empty space, missing completely. "Commander, it's gone," a panicked officer shouted. Velrax's eyes darted across the screen. No ship could disappear like that. Not even the Exceltar's best cloaking devices could move so fast. "Find it. Now," he barked. Before they could react, alarms blared again. "It's behind us," an officer screamed. The main screen flickered. The human ship had jumped across their formation, now positioned directly behind them, a perfect attack position. Velrax stared at the screen, his mind racing. How? How was this possible? Then the deep voice returned. "You fired first. Now we respond." A bright flash of energy filled the screen as the human warship powered up its weapons. And for the first time in his life, Commander Velrax felt something he had never known before. The first encounter. Silence. For the first time in his career, Commander Velrax did not know what to do. The human warship loomed behind them, its dark hull reflecting the distant starlight. The energy buildup on its weapons hummed like an approaching storm. The Exceltar fleet, ***, the same fleet that had crushed a dozen civilizations, ***, was frozen, trapped in the crosshairs of an enemy they did not understand. Velrax clenched his jaw, forcing himself to think. This was just one ship against his entire battle group. They still had the advantage, didn't they? "Turn the fleet, face it head-on," he barked. The massive warships of the Exceltar Dominion shifted their positions, engines burning bright, as they tried to rotate toward the human vessel. But it was too late. The human warship moved first. With a sudden, unnatural acceleration, it darted across their ranks, weaving through their formations like a predator among prey. No ship that size should have been able to move like that. Then, the first shot. A single pulse of blue energy burst from the human warship. It wasn't large, it wasn't flashy. But the moment it struck one of the Exceltar destroyers, the entire ship flickered and went dark. The bridge crew stared in shock. One shot, one ship, one kill. "Commander, we lost the Void's Fang. It's completely offline. No explosions, no structural damage, just nothing. It's dead." Velrax's blood ran cold. A weapon that could disable a warship with one hit. The crew was panicking now. Their mighty fleet had never faced something like this. The comms crackled. That same deep voice echoed again. "You have violated human space. Stand down or be removed." Velrax's claws dug into the chair. Human space. This wasn't human space. This was Exceltar Dominion territory. The foolish creatures must have been mistaken, or they were testing the Exceltar's resolve. Velrax would not stand for this humiliation. "All ships, open fire. Destroy that thing." The fleet unleashed a blinding storm of plasma and energy blasts, their weapons screaming through the void. The firepower was enough to shatter moons. But once again, the human ship disappeared. 1 second, it was there. The next, it was gone. A heavy silence filled the bridge. The officers looked around, their faces twisted in fear. "Impossible," someone whispered. Velrax's throat tightened. He turned toward his scanning officer. "Find it. Now." The officer's claws flew across the controls. I can't. It's not on any of our sensors." And then, it reappeared, right next to Velrax's own flagship. A proximity alert screamed across the bridge. Velrax's eyes snapped to the main screen. The human ship was so close, he could see the smooth black surface of its hull without the need for magnification. Then, something happened that shook Velrax to his core. For the first time, the human ship revealed itself. A small section of its hull shimmered, transforming into a transparent window. And inside, he saw them, the humans. They stood on their bridge, watching him, completely calm. Their eyes locked onto his, and despite the vast emptiness of space between them, Velrax felt something he had never felt before, a deep, chilling certainty. He was not the hunter. He was the prey. Then, one of the humans did something strange. He raised his hand and waved, a gesture of amusement, a silent challenge. The screen flickered again. The human's voice returned, calm and unwavering. This was your last mistake. And then, the real attack began. The retaliation. Panic. For the first time in his career, Commander Velrax felt truly powerless. The human warship loomed outside his viewport, its dark, angular frame absorbing the distant light of the stars. No markings, no insignia, just a silent predator watching its prey. The XL-TAR fleet, once the mightiest force in this sector, had failed to even scratch it. Weapons that had conquered entire civilizations had simply missed. And now, the humans were done playing games. Velrax's claws dug into the command chair. He needed a new plan. "Prepare boarding pods," he roared. His officers snapped their heads toward him, confusion and fear on their faces. "Commander, you want to board that thing?" One of them stammered. Velrax bared his fangs. If their weapons couldn't destroy it, then they would take it from the inside. Send the death squads. Break their ship apart from within. The XL-TAR were known for their elite boarding teams, ruthless, relentless, and unstoppable. Each warrior was bred for war, their armor reinforced to withstand the vacuum of space, their weapons capable of cutting through even the toughest enemy defenses. No species had ever survived a XL-TAR boarding operation. The order was given. Within moments, 6 armored pods launched from Velrax's flagship, streaking across the void toward the human vessel. Their hulls burned red-hot as they closed the distance. Inside, 50 of the deadliest warriors in the Dominion gripped their weapons, hearts pounding in anticipation. They would tear the humans apart. Or so they thought. The breach. Impact. The boarding pods slammed into the human warship's hull, magnetic clamps locking them in place. Drills whirred to life, melting through the outer layer. But something was wrong. There was no resistance, no countermeasures, no shields redirecting the pods, no defensive turrets firing. The humans let them in. Velrax watched the monitors, his claws tightening. Why weren't they fighting back? Then, the pod doors hissed open. The XL-TAR warriors rushed in, weapons raised, but instead of the tight corridors of an enemy ship, they found only darkness. No lights, no alarms, no atmosphere. Just a vast, empty corridor stretching into the abyss. The lead warrior, Captain Jurok, activated his helmet's night vision. Nothing. "Spread out," he ordered. The squad advanced cautiously, moving deeper into the ship. Their boots echoed against the floor, a strange material that absorbed sound, making their movements eerily silent. Then, a shadow moved. Jurok froze. His instincts screamed at him. Something was watching. He turned, weapon raised, but the corridor was empty. Then another shadow shifted, then another, and another. Then, the first scream. A soldier at the back vanished. No gunfire, no struggle, just gone. The squad whirled around, scanning the area. Nothing. Then the lights flickered on, and the XL-TAR warriors saw what was waiting for them. Not humans. Something else. Something worse. Velrax could only watch in horror as the security feeds cut to static. One by one, the signals went dark. 50 of the Dominion's best soldiers. Gone. Without a sound. Without a fight. And then, the human's voice returned. Calm. Unbothered. Your soldiers were brave, but bravery is not enough. Velrax's blood turned to ice. This wasn't war. This was a warning, and humans did not give warnings twice. The revelation. Velrax stared at the silent monitors, his claws gripping the armrests of his command chair. 50 elite soldiers, gone. No gunfire, no distress signals, not even a single life sign remaining. Something was wrong. The human ship had taken them without a fight. But how? The XL-TAR had conquered dozens of species. No enemy had ever resisted their boarding teams, and yet this one ship had swallowed them whole. And then the human's voice returned, calm, unshaken, too confident. Your soldiers were brave, but bravery is not enough. Velrax's second-in-command, a nervous officer named Chiron, turned to him. Commander, I don't understand. What are they? Velrax said nothing, because he didn't know. But he would find out. Open a direct channel. Chiron hesitated. Sir, that could be. Now, a sharp beep confirmed the connection. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the human spoke again. Curious, Commander. Most of your kind would have fled by now. Velrax's mandibles clicked. They knew his name. What did you do to my men? A brief pause. They were studied. A chill ran through the Xeltar bridge crew. Studied. Velrax growled. You will return them. Now. Another pause. Then, laughter. Not mocking. Not cruel. Just amused. Commander, you don't understand. They were never meant to return. The crew gasped. Chiron recoiled. Velrax felt his stomach twist. Enough. Fire all weapons. Chiron flinched. But sir, do it. A second later, the fleet unleashed hell. Torpedoes, plasma cannons, disruptor beams, everything. The human warship vanished in a blinding explosion. The blast wave rippled through space, shaking the Xeltar flagships. The crew cheered. Finally, the nightmare was over. Until the smoke cleared, and the warship was still there. Unscathed, untouched. Velrax felt his throat tighten. That wasn't possible. Nothing could survive a full Xeltar bombardment. Nothing. Then, something moved. Not the warship. Something inside it. Velrax leaned closer to the screen. Through the reinforced viewport of the enemy vessel, a shape appeared. A silhouette. A human. But something was wrong. Their eyes. Velrax had seen humans before, but never like this. The figure tilted its head slightly, as if observing him. Then, it smiled. Not in victory, not in arrogance, in understanding. The lights on the Xeltar bridge flickered. The ship's systems began to fail. One by one, Velrax's warships lost power. Engines, shields, weapons, all offline. A single chilling message flashed across every screen. You were never in control. Velrax's breathing quickened. What are you? He whispered. The human's voice returned, soft and final. You're about to find out. Then, the warship vanished. No explosion, no hyperspace jump. Just gone. The Xeltar fleet drifted in silence, and Velrax knew with absolute certainty. This was only the beginning. The truth revealed. Velrax's warship drifted helplessly in the void, surrounded by a fleet that had lost all power. The Xeltar were warriors, conquerors, not prey. And yet, in that moment, he had never felt so small. The human warship had vanished, but its presence still lingered. A single message remained on the dead screens. You were never in control. Velrax forced himself to think. What just happened? The humans had turned their greatest strength, technology, into their greatest weakness. They hadn't fired a single shot. They didn't need to. Velrax turned to Chiron. Damage report. The officer's hands trembled over the dead console. Sir, everything is offline. Engines, weapons, comms. Restore them. Chiron swallowed. We can't. Velrax's mandibles clenched. How? What kind of technology could shut down an entire fleet without a fight? And then, the lights flickered. Not on their ship. In space. The Xeltar crew watched in horror as a shape re-emerged from the void. Not a ship. A field of glowing symbols, massive, ancient, and burning with energy. A voice returned, not through comms, not through any system. Inside their heads. We let you play war. We let you believe you ruled these stars. Velrax felt his mind tremble. It wasn't just one voice. It was many. Thousands. Millions. The humans weren't speaking. Something else was. You came to our space. You threatened us. And now, you will understand. The symbols began to move. And the Xeltar began to scream. Velrax fell to his knees as visions flooded his mind. Not memories. Not hallucinations. History. The truth. The first human warships. Not machines. Not metal. But living entities, bound to their pilots through something older than the stars. The Xeltar had never fought humans. They had fought their shadows. The real enemy had been watching. Waiting. And now, they had decided. You are not ready for the real war. The fleet vanished. One blink, and the Xeltar warships were no longer in the same sector. Velrax gasped as he saw the new coordinates. They were back in Xeltar space, hundreds of light years away. Instantly transported. Returned. Like a child caught sneaking into forbidden halls. Velrax stood, shaking. The screens powered back on. One final message appeared. Stay in your borders. Next time, we won't return you. Velrax turned to his crew. No one spoke. No one moved. Because they all knew one thing. This war was over before it began. And the humans had never even considered them a threat. The final warning. Velrax stood motionless on the bridge, his claws trembling. The cold silence of the Xeltar fleet was deafening. They had been sent back. Like children dismissed from a battlefield they were never meant to enter. And yet, something was still wrong. The air felt heavier. The shadows of the warships seemed longer. The bridge lights flickered, but not from any malfunction. Chiron gasped. Sir, look at the star charts. Velrax turned. His blood ran cold. They were home, but not in the same time. The fleet had been returned to Xeltar space, yet their logs showed an impossible gap. 200 years had passed. The crew fell into chaos. Officers yelled. Technicians frantically checked instruments, but the readings were undeniable. The Xeltar fleet had breached human borders only days ago. Now they had returned to a future they never saw coming. Velrax gripped the console. What happened in those lost years? A deep chime echoed through the ship, a sound they had never heard before. The emergency transmission beacon. Chiron hesitated before activating it. The view screen flared to life, revealing a figure they didn't recognize. A Xeltar elder, but not one Velrax had ever seen. His robes were unfamiliar, his face lined with age. He stared at them with something Velrax had never seen from his kind before. Fear. Then he spoke. If you are seeing this, then you are ghosts. The crew fell silent. The elder continued, his mandibles clicking in sorrow. You broke the law. You crossed the border. And the humans, they let you live. But at a price. Velrax clenched his fists. What price? The elder sighed. Look outside. Velrax turned to the viewport, and his mind shattered. The Xeltar homeworld was still there, but its skies were no longer theirs. Colossal structures hovered above the capital, black, silent, and waiting. Not weapons, warnings, human ships, not the ones they had encountered before. Something else, something worse. Their very presence warped space around them. Velrax had no words, no thoughts, only the overwhelming truth pressing down on his soul. The humans had not destroyed the Xeltar. They had taken the future. The elder's voice trembled. Do not challenge them again. The transmission ended. Velrax turned to his crew, his voice barely a whisper. We lost a war we never fought. No one responded, because there was nothing left to say. The message was clear. The Exceltar no longer ruled their own fate, and humanity had simply let them exist. The last decision. Velrax stood frozen, staring at the towering human structures above the Teltar homeworld. The war never happened, yet they had lost everything. The Exceltar were a proud race, warriors, conquerors, but now, prisoners in their own future. The bridge was silent, the weight of reality crushing every officer. Their empire still existed, but only because the humans allowed it. Velrax forced himself to speak. There has to be a way to fix this. Chiron's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, maybe this is fixing it. Velrax turned sharply, his mandibles clicking. What are you saying? Chiron swallowed hard. We always believed we were at the top, that we could take what we wanted. He gestured to the black monoliths hanging above their homeworld. But the humans showed us what real power is. Velrax clenched his fists. It wasn't just power. It was control. Not a single shot had been fired. No invasion. No demands. Just presence. The humans had rewritten their destiny. Not with war, but with inevitability. A sudden beep echoed through the bridge. A new transmission. A voice spoke. Calm. Unshaken. Human. This is Admiral Hayes of the Turin Accord. Velrax's heart pounded. A direct message. From them. Your intrusion into our borders was noted. Your fleet was returned. Your world was spared. A pause. Then, do not test us again. The screen went dark. That was it. No threats. No negotiations. Just a simple truth. The humans had decided their fate, and they were expected to accept it. Velrax looked around the bridge, seeing the silent faces of his crew. For the first time in Exceltar history, war was not an option. Because this wasn't a war. It was a lesson. One final thought haunted Velrax's mind. If humans were this powerful, who were they preparing to fight? And what would happen when that enemy finally arrived?